Even though we can see these lingams vaguely from outside, the real view can be obtained only if we get underwater. And for the very first time, because this has never been shot before, I'm going to go underwater and show you how it feels. Hey guys, today we're going up a mountain called Phnom Kulen in Cambodia. This place has many ancient lingams constructed underwater. So let's go take a look and see what this mountain has to offer. We are at this place called Phnom Kulen Mountain. We are not at the ground level, and there's a stream here. But there's something spectacular inside the stream. Look. Look, do you see what that is? You should see a rectangle, inside a rectangle, inside a rectangle, inside a rectangle. Now you may wonder what this is. This is a lingam, or at least there used to be a cylindrical lingam in the center. Now it's gone, but that's not the only remarkable feature, and that's not even the only lingam. Look, if you look, the entire stream is full of lingams. You see, there are lingams of various sizes. Look here, there are smaller lingams, and look over there, there is a huge rectangle over there. These are all lingams carved underwater here in Cambodia. And let's go into the water and see how these multiple lingams look. There is a square around another square, and in the center there is a cylindrical protrusion. There are so many of them. This is a huge lingam. Seems like it has some mystical energy to it. This huge rectangle once must have had a cylindrical lingam inside. It is great to see how it looks underwater. Look, we can even see fish swimming alongside the camera. So even though we call this place Phnom Kulen today, originally this place was called Sahasralinga, which means 1,000 lingas. And this is not a misnomer. This is not even an exaggeration. This is actually an understatement, because we have more than 1,000 lingams underwater. If you look closely, now you see that that's one huge rectangle, and you can see here so many lingams. If you look all over the stream, you'll see a lot of lingams here. It goes all the way on both directions. The name Sahasralinga means 1,000 lingas in Sanskrit, which used to be the main language here in Cambodia more than 1,000 years ago. And people think these are randomly carved lingams on the riverbed, but they're not. There is a pattern here. If you look carefully, you'll see these carvings in squares. Now here you can see one square, and you will see 8 rows of lingam and 8 columns of lingam. So you have 8 rows and 8 columns like a chessboard, and so you have a total of 64 lingams. And you can see this much better in this panel on the right side. You can see these 64 lingams because they're actually coming out of the water, or at least partially coming out of the water. Now, what's the secret to this number 64, right? Why do these lingams have to be in groups of 64? Because there are 64 Bhairavas, 64 forms of Shiva mentioned in Hinduism. Let's go underwater and take a look at them. each cylindrical protrusion is one lingam. Just imagine how fresh and perfect these lingams must have looked at the time they were carved. When we casually look at this rectangle, within the rectangle, we don't understand anything. People just assume that this is a fancy lingam. But there is something bizarre about this. This is the model of Angkor Wat, the largest Hindu temple in the world, which is located about 25 miles from these carvings. If we compare the two, it is shocking because the aerial view of Angkor Wat temple is built as a rectangle within a rectangle within a rectangle, which matches perfectly with this carving. And there's yet another weird connection between Angkor Wat and this mountain. Where did all the stones of Angkor Wat temple come from? They were cut from this very mountain. This mountain is now known as Phnom Kulen. But originally, this entire mountain was called Mahendra Parvata, meaning the mountain of Lord Indra. They found a 1200-year-old inscription confirming this original name. And here you can see underwater a perfect square, and you see a lot of very interesting details. Now, one, you see a circle in the center, and then there is another concentric circle surrounding it, like a weird cymatics pattern. And of course, like I told you, 8 rows and 8 columns, but not all 8 rows have protruding lingams. You see, for example, from the left, on the very first row, 1, 2, 3, they have protruding lingams, and the 4 is just an empty hole. And then again, 1, 2, and then the last 2 are just holes. You will see the same pattern around. We don't have all these lingams, we have these empty holes. Now, what is the mystery of this? And more importantly, right, why were these 1,000 lingams carved underwater? Cambodians, who used to be Hindus more than 1,000 years ago, believed that lingams have strange energy and they're capable of making everything fertile. Now, why did they make these lingams on top of this mountain in the path of the stream? Of course, historians and archaeologists will simply blame it on meaningless rituals followed by primitive people. But remember, there is always a reason behind everything. Originally, Cambodia was just one big, massive forest land. But ancient Hindus cleared them and made them into paddy fields, into rich rice fields. But simply clearing the forest and planting crops were not enough to turn the land into rich rice fields. The water flowed from this mountaintop into the fields, but the soil lacked fertility. It needed an additional ingredient, some unfathomable magical property, an act of God which would make the soil fertile. Hindus believe that lingams have strange energy, and if water runs through lingams, it turns into a magic potion. This is why devotees still pour water on top of lingams today. This is why these thousands of lingams were carved on this path, because the water flowing through these lingams would reach the rice fields, ensuring a great amount of rice. Some people think that this place was completely dedicated to Shiva because all these lingams represent Shiva. But here, underwater, you see this amazing carving of Lord Vishnu sleeping in the water. Look at his face and see how he's sleeping. And this is a huge carving of Vishnu. inside the water.
Remember, Vishnu is usually shown sleeping in the cosmic ocean. So it is very appropriate that he is carved underwater. You can see he's resting on this huge multi-headed snake. And also look at this figure at his feet. This is goddess Lakshmi, his wife. Now, let us go underwater. This is a close-up of Lord Vishnu's face, and you can even see a strange smile, a grin on his face. A lot of sediments have taken over this carving because Cambodia switched from Hinduism to Buddhism many centuries ago, and these carvings were completely neglected for hundreds of years, but they're still in very good shape.
In certain angles, you can see very large squares. You can see this is a huge square, possibly about 4 feet on each side, and inside there is a yoni. But the real view comes when you get into the water.
How did they carve this underwater? Experts say that about 1,000 years ago, when these lingams were carved, the water level was much higher, which means the sculptors have to go underwater, hold their breath, and carve these lingams with chisels and hammers. And there are documentaries which show that these lingams were carved below the water level. But there is a problem with this theory. Holding the breath is not a real problem, right? You can even use hollow bamboo stems and breathe underwater for several hours. There are many tribes who still do this. The real problem is using a chisel and hammer underwater. Do you think you can use a hammer with enough force underwater? Have you ever tried to punch someone underwater? It's impossible. You will make a soft touch because you cannot move your hand very fast. Even if you have not tried that, you have definitely seen in movies what happens when somebody shoots a bullet underwater. Even bullets slow down a lot in water because water has a lot more density compared to air. To make a carving, you have to hit it hard. This is a bedrock and this is not soft. So we have to agree that either ancient builders had superhuman strength or used advanced machining technology to carve underwater.
There are a lot of secrets hidden in the water, and I'm going to explore more. But for now, I hope you guys like this video. Thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll talk to you soon in a completely different video. Bye.